The trio of textures and flavors in a s'more are perfection. You have that weedy, crunchy graham cracker, that slightly melted chocolate held together with gooey toasted marshmallow. And today, Bridget's going to take that beautiful trio and make a pie.
Yes, because what could be better than s'mores in pie form? It's fantastic. It's super easy to do. You're going to see we're going to take a lot of inspiration from the s'mores, starting with our crumb crust. This is 12 whole graham crackers. They're about 6.5 ounces, and I've broken them into smaller pieces here.
Snack size.
Snack size, exactly. Yes, I've counted every single piece there. This goes on, and I'm going to process this for about 30 seconds until it's nice and fine. Now we do want to add a little sweetness here. This is 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar and just a little bit of salt, 1/8 teaspoon. I'm going to pulse this in just to make sure it's all well distributed. I'm sending SOS signals. Now I've got 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, melted obviously. Pour that right in. And then this time I'm going to pulse the butter in until it's well distributed. That's going to take about 8 pulses, maybe a little more. That was 8 pulses with sass. All right, so now we're going to put this into our pie plate. This is a 9-inch nonstick pie plate. I'm going to do this in a couple of stages, but I always like to establish the bottom part of the crust before I go in and build up the sides. And now I'll start working in the rest. All right, so now I'm just going to start kind of divvying this up around the edges. And I'm going to just take my cup here and start working it around, pressing it at an angle. This is going to go into a 325-degree oven. We're going to leave it in there until it's nice and fragrant, and it'll start to change color just a little bit. That's going to take 16 to 18 minutes. All right, Julia, our crust is out of the oven. It's got a little tan. Very fragrant, definitely representing graham crackers. The next step is chocolate. We're going to go with something a little more decadent, a little bit more adult. So we're taking the chocolate filling and breaking it into 2 parts. And the first part is a brownie.
Really?
Yeah, fudgy, dark, delicious.
In the bottom of a pie?
Yeah. This is 6 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. I've finely chopped it here. And I've got 5 tablespoons of vegetable oil along with 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. So the butter, of course, is going to add some great flavor, but the vegetable oil is what gives it that really good fudgy texture because oil stays in that liquid state at room temp. We got a little bit of Dutch processed cocoa here too, just 2 tablespoons. All right, so I'm going to take this back to the microwave, and we're going to microwave it at 50% power for about 2 minutes. I want to stir it every 30 seconds or so just to make sure that the chocolate's melting evenly. I'm stirring this, and you can see that some of the pieces of chocolate are melted, but some are not. That's why we stir every 30 seconds or so. That's lovely, beautiful, and smooth. We need to let this cool for just about 5 minutes before we move on.
All right.
All right, our chocolate has been cooling just for about 5 minutes, but we're adding eggs in this next batch, so I wanted to cool it down so we didn't get scrambled chocolate eggs.
Makes sense.
Not good. All right, so let's turn this into a brownie. This is a cup of packed light brown sugar. That's about 7 ounces if you want to weigh it. We've got 3 whole eggs. Some vanilla extract. This is a tablespoon, always perfect with chocolate, and a little bit of salt. This is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I always think it's necessary for brownies, especially, to have a little bit of salt. And then now, this would be how I would like to eat my brownies, but we got to add flour for it to technically be a brownie. This is a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, just enough.
That's not a lot of flour.
No.
This is a very rich brownie.
Oh yeah, it's the right proportion as far as I'm concerned there. Now I'm going to bring this up to my pie plate and just pour this right in. All right. I just want to make it even. But this is going to go back into that 325-degree oven, this time for about 40 minutes. Oh. Ah, I love a good brownie with that shiny, crackly top. All right, so I do need to see if it's done. And you can see around the edges that it's more set. But in the center, take a little toothpick in there so you can see those beautiful, just a couple of moist crumbs there. That's a good sign. We want fudginess in there. All right, so we can move on, but this needs to cool for at least 10 minutes to let it set up a little bit, and up to an hour.
Okay.
Which gives us plenty of time for part 2, chocolate boogaloo.
More chocolate.
Chocolate, chocolate everywhere. So this is our kind of ganache, even fudgier layer than the fudge brownies that's gonna go right on top. So good. This is 4 ounces of milk chocolate this time. We use bittersweet there because it's in a brownie and it dilutes the flavor. This is milk chocolate because we want to have a little nod to the original s'mores. So this is just chopped finely. I'm going to add a 1/3 cup of heavy cream and 2 tablespoons of light corn syrup. This is just going to give it a really glossy, fudgy texture. All right, so same thing as before. This is going to go back in the microwave, this time for about 1 to 2 minutes. I'm going to cook it on 50% power, and I'll stir it every 30 seconds.
Ah, the microwave dance.
All right, so let's take a look at this. It's just getting more and more silky. We don't want to put this on right away. We want to let it set up and get even fudgier. So we're going to leave this to cool completely for about 30 minutes.
All right.
Love our in-depth reviews? Get the latest from our reviews team delivered straight to your inbox. Our well-equipped cook newsletter provides top product picks, no-nonsense buying guides, and must-try recipes. No extra fluff, just the smartest ways to shop, save, and cook. Sign up for free now at americastestkitchen.com/newsletter.
Our chocolate mixture has cooled completely. All right, so now right onto that brownie layer. You can thank me later.
Oh, goodness.
It's the miracle pie. All right, just gonna take this basically out to that edge of the brownie. All right, and then I'm gonna keep doing this, but then we're gonna leave this at room temperature. We're gonna let it cool completely, and that's gonna take about 3 hours. Oh, this looks absolutely amazing. It's been 3 hours. This is set up just enough. Let's see, we've covered the graham crackers, we've covered the chocolate filling. What's left but the marshmallow?
Okay.
Yes. Now we're not just melting marshmallows on top because they would get really hard and crusty and kind of strange, but we are going to make a meringue. That's what marshmallows are made of. We're using a Swiss meringue method so that the meringue is going to be cooked through. It's going to be nice and stable. Very easy to do. I've got 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. Just goes right into my standing mixer bowl here, and 3 egg whites. I've got a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. As you know, this is just a little acid in here, so an acidic ingredient in here like lemon juice or cream of tartar is going to help prevent the egg whites from getting too bound together. All right.
Little insurance.
Yes. Again, that was a 1/4 teaspoon and just a pinch of table salt. All right, I'll whisk all of this together. All right, so that looks well mixed together. Now let's move on over to the stove. I've got a saucepan with about 1 inch of water in the bottom. It's just barely simmering. You don't want it to simmer too much. And you also don't want enough water that's going to touch the bottom of this because it'll start to cook those eggs. So this is just going to go right on top. And I'll use my whisk to constantly but gently really whisk this mixture. We're not looking to incorporate any air, but we're looking to cook the mixture until it's about 160, 165. All right, you see there, we're fluctuating a little bit between 160 and 165 in a few places, so this is done.
Nice.
All right, give that to you. All right, let's move over here to my standing mixer. You can see the steam coming off of that. So this is nice and stabilized. Now we're gonna let this go. So I'm gonna put this on high. We're gonna let it go for about 3 minutes. Oh, so good. That was only about 3 minutes.
Oh, goodness.
And let me show you. That is a stiff peak as stiff peaks can get.
It is so glossy.
And now, so I'm just going to start kind of dolloping it all the way around. If I was to start in the center, sometimes you might not get full coverage evenly. So the first thing I do want to make some swoops and swirls, but the first thing I want to do is use my offset spatula and kind of push it towards the edges. This time, I really want that meringue to kind of lock with the edges of the crust there. You want it to touch. And I always think that this is the hardest part. You don't want to cover up that crust too much because it's pretty too. Mm-hmm. All right, and then you can use this to make swoops and swirls however you want. I also like to use a spoon for this because you can really get that big kind of porcupine swirls and swoops. This could go straight under the broiler, and we have instructions for how to cook this under a broiler on our website. But I like to use our old friend. There we go.
Oh, you know it's a good time when you have a blowtorch in the kitchen.
I'm going to use a moderate heat. And then this is great. I put it on a cake plate here because it's going to be easy for me to turn it. And when you're just starting with one of these, you want to start kind of far away, about 2 inches away, and sweep it back and forth. And it's going to naturally pick up those peaks and the swirls.
My gosh, Bridget, that looks like so much fun.
Would you like to try?
Yes, I thought you'd never ask.
And it's totally fine if it gets a little bit of those charred tips because that's just like a s'more. Good news, it's time to eat.
Ooh.
So I've got a couple of different things that, depending on the type of pie, you might want to use a chef's knife to cut through. Sometimes it's good to get the first few cuts with a boning knife. It's a little bit more flexible, and the tip is super sharp, so you can really get into the center of the pie. I also have here a hot glass of water and a damp towel, because there's a lot of goodness inside. All right, so I'll make that first cut. Just drag it.
You're not messing around. Oh, precision, Bridget.
What do you
think?
think?
That was pie precision.
Pie precision, love it.
Oh.
All right.
All right, I'm not waiting any longer. I'm going in.
That's beautiful. I just had to take a moment though.
The marshmallow on top, because it's toasted, really does make you think of a s'more. And the graham crackers with the chocolate. The chocolate. There's the deep chocolate that's kind of fudgy like the brownie, and then you get that milk chocolate ganache.
You know how when you're making a s'more and that chocolate starts to melt, and on the inside it's all goopy, but on the outside it still looks set? That's exactly what this reminds me of.
Man, that's good.
For full episodes of your favorite cooking shows, head over to ATK's Full Episodes channel on YouTube. You can stream complete seasons of America's Test Kitchen, Cook's Country, and more. See you there.